Thanks.
New details developing, meantime, in Idaho. Bryan Kohberger, the suspect in the Idaho student murders, waiving his right to a speedy trial. He was back in court today, where a judge set his preliminary hearing for June. So now this gives prosecutors months to continue building their case. And it comes as tomorrow marks 2 months since Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death. Senior national correspondent Brian Entin is live. And Brian, you were inside that courtroom this morning.
Yeah, I was, Nicole. You know, it was really a very quick hearing, less than 10 minutes, I would say. Bryan Kohberger, he's being held in the jail here, which is in the basement of the building behind me. They just bring him right upstairs, and that's where the courtroom was, and that's when he came in. As I said, lasted maybe 8 to 10 minutes. It was really just a status hearing, but it was very, very important because the defense made clear that they do want to have a preliminary hearing. The sort of shocker, though, was that this hearing is not going to be until mid-June. So the preliminary hearing, which is the next step, isn't going to be until about 6 months from now. What we can look forward to with that preliminary hearing, though, number one, he's going to have to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Number two, they're going to go over all the evidence in the case, plus new evidence that we haven't heard about yet. And number three, both sides are going to be able to call witnesses, which is huge, Nicole, because that means we will likely hear from the surviving roommate who saw the killer, according to police, in the early morning hours of the murder. Normally, the preliminary hearing would have to be within 14 days, but they pushed it back. The judge had to make sure Kohberger was okay with that. I'll listen to this exchange in court.
Have you had enough time to speak with Ms. Taylor about your decision to waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing?
Yes.
Do you need any additional time to do so?
No.
So it was just those yes or no answers that we heard from Kohberger in court in terms of his demeanor. It looked very, very similar to me as the last 2 times I've seen him in court. Never really looked back at the gallery where we were sitting, just looked straight ahead at the judge or at his lawyer. He did look a little skinnier to me today. But for the most part, his demeanor looked the same as ever since we've been following him since he got arrested in Pennsylvania. Nicole?
Well, Brian, speaking of looks, a lot of people on social media noticed scratches on his face. I just, took a close look there as we heard that sound. Do we know what happened?
Yeah, this is interesting. I was in the 3rd row. I didn't notice it because I was sort of sitting behind him, but Twitter started blowing up the minute the video went out. If you look at closer pictures, Nicole, you can see that there are right there. You see those 2 scratches on the side of his face. We didn't see those when we were following the hearing in Pennsylvania or the last hearing last week in Idaho. So a lot of speculation about what those scratches were. We reached out to the sheriff here who's over the jail where Kohberger is being held. He says that those scratches are actually from shaving, that Kohberger cut himself shaving this morning before court, Nicole.
Interesting. And it really just shows you how closely people are watching this. Okay, Brian, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.